I'm Travis Frank, host of The Flush television show and podcast, and this is the Prairie Farm Podcast.
Ken doesn't listen to the pod.
That's not true.
True. Okay,
I
real
was
question
only
here.
found that song.
Do you listen to your own podcast?
Yeah.
Look at, I'm just spinning. Are we recording? Let's record this.
Yeah.
Do you listen back to your own show?
Most episodes, yes.
I'd say not most, but yeah, fairly often. And
Do you?
I go back and listen to ones that I'm like, what was her name? Garrity? No, not Garrity. That's Sean. Genevieve. The microplastic. I recently,
Genevieve Geary.
I recently re-listened to hers. Stuff that I'm like, that was interesting. I should relearn that.
You probably had more questions listening back. You're like, oh, this is what I should have asked.
Do
Well,
you?
I every once in a while will go back and listen to part of it because there's some speakers or guests that I have on where I'm like, I really kind of want to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
When I'm recording, it's kind of like, right now, Nick, you don't have any notes in front of you. There's nothing. And, and you laugh about it, but I'm very similar. I'll have a couple of bullet points. I got to read some sponsor list type thing. But then I could just as easily close the computer because I don't look at anything on it. And then what ends up happening is I kind of black out during the conversation. And then I wonder, what the heck did we just talk about for an hour and 28 minutes? No way. How did we just talk that long? And I have no idea what we talked
Some
about.
mind movie going on in Travis's mind.
Yeah, totally.
Do you have to deal with the internal critic when you're re-listening?
I'm over that.
You're over it?
I don't have time for that.
Okay. All right.
Move on
All
really
right.
quickly.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've, in the last 3 years, listened back to an entire episode that I have done myself.
What about-
Fortunately, we have a producer that does it.
What about watching the show? Do you watch the TV stuff?
So it's really hard for me to watch it when I leave this building.
Yeah.
I'm pretty critical. I think one of the hardest things to do is to narrate a television script because you go into this, basically we have a sound booth and I'm reading a script off of paper. That
And you didn't write it?
No, I wrote it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I write it. And then I go in there. But the script that I'm reading is playing off of emotion and real things that are happening visually. Mm-hmm. But I don't see that. I see it in words, but I have to try to grasp when to have inflection, when to be quiet, and there's an art to it. And I am not an artist. I am not very good at it. And every time I watch myself, I think, how is this guy on TV? He's terrible.
I think it's a great show.
He's terrible.
You know who has no inflection in their voice and they nail that narration? Who does the Ken Burns?
Peter Coyote.
Peter Coyote has, the most monotone in 1871.
Yeah, but if you have the right voice, it works.
It is
man,
amazing.
Everybody has their own voice, and there's some that are iconic, and you hear it, and you say, oh, that guy's got pipes.
Yes.
And you hear those pipes, and you think...
I interviewed this guy from my podcast, and he's from Idaho. And if you wanted to sum up Idaho in a voice, this guy had. He sounded like a pro wrestler.
Try it again. Do it again.
My name's Cameron from wherever Idaho.
He had a gruff voice. That was pretty good, Ken. That was pretty good.
Yeah, like he goes on like 30 to 60 day elk hunts.
He sounds like how the skin of a 70-year-old who lived outside their whole life looks.
Yeah, just like he's just tough as nails,
So we had this guy in Minnesota, and I don't know if he's still alive or not. And anyway, he had this on the road segment on one of the news stations here, and he had a very strong English accent. And he actually went to voice lessons to keep that because he lived here for so long that he was losing it. But that was his, people heard it and they knew it. This is this guy.
Do you guys ever watch any of the Transformers movies?
I can't.
I think I watched the very first one.
I don't blame you for not, but the guy who voices the main Prime, the main
Optimus
robot,
Prime.
Optimus Prime. Thank you. His
Child of the 90s.
Peter Cullen is his name. Highly recommend looking up that guy's voice. It is incredible. I've just looked it up at work just to listen to that
voice quality is very important.
Oh, for sure. There's some people that have it and you recognize it.
Yeah.
And it's just an iconic voice.
Yeah.
Even the founder of our company, Ron Shera, here in Minnesota, he's from Iowa, but here in Minnesota, that voice, you hear it, you know instantly that's Ron Shera.
Yeah.
Yep. For 30 years, you've listened to that voice, put you to bed on Sunday night.
Yeah.
It's like comfort food. It's like tater tot hot dish. Minnesota Bound is a TV show. It was seriously
Minnesota State dish.
You ended your weekend with Ron serenading you about outdoor things, waxing poetically about bluebirds and sunsets and loon calls, and you just hear the voice, and you just everything is right in the world.
Man, would you give him some credit in the culture that Minnesota actually cares about their outdoors compared to a lot of states?
Perhaps.
Or was that already going on? I don't know.
Well, we're one of the few places that still have an outdoor section in our paper. And that was Ron for decades. You can see right there. Quite a ride, it says.
Yep.
And we have a couple of other ones as well. I mean, right over there we have Ron Shara Day. Ron Shara and Raven Day in Minnesota, proclaimed by the governor.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's some interesting things that, Ron is he's just an outdoor icon up here.
Yeah.
I watched him growing up. I mean, Ron Shara, Al Lindner, those were a couple of people. I didn't watch cartoons when I was a kid. I recorded fishing shows on Saturday morning with the old VHS tapes. Yep. And I would watch them back all week. I didn't watch very many cartoons. I just wanted to know how to catch more fish.
Yeah.
Yep.
Man.
One of my good friends growing up, he was probably my number one fishing friend. Well, either him or the infamous Nick Wilkerson again.
Oh, that guy. There's some stories behind that guy's name.
Oh, my goodness. Many of those cannot be repeated. And Nick,
those are the best ones.
Nick, you take that to heart yourself, buddy, if you're tuning into this.
You should do a Sig Boucher special. You just call it Sig Boucher.
And we do dirt on him?
And it would just be his stories.
Oh, yeah, that would be good. Mm-hmm. That
would stories be fun. That should never be told.
Yeah, let's keep those untold. Some of them anyways. But no, my friend Matt, he lived behind me. We lived in like a housing development that had a lake. And we would go fishing all the time, and he did exactly what you did. And he is a very, it feels so weird to say this about hunting and fishing, but I really think there are some people who are just talented at it. And like just the presentation, choosing the right lure. Sometimes it's even persistence, right? They're going out in conditions when everyone else is staying home. Matt is that kind of guy.
Well, those are usually the conditions that are favorable when nobody else wants to be out there. As a muskie fishing guide for a couple of decades, I would tell people the worst day out there, that's the best. So if you don't want it, I've got a waiting list of 50 people that would jump in the boat with me the second I called them and said the conditions are right, which means windy, crappy, cold, rainy. That's when you
no one
want
else is out there.
That's interesting that you say that.
It triggers things. The whole ecosystem is alive down there. There's a front. There's pressure. We don't feel it. We don't see it. Well, we see it in the clouds. We see it in the rain. But that does stuff to their bodies that trigger them to feed. And if it triggers one, it triggers them all. Yeah. So that's kind of the key there.
Yeah, that is so interesting to me. And we're really getting off the outline here, which is fine. But how animals have such a complete shared response to something, whatever condition it is. I think a lot of times it's barometric pressure, but like, have you ever noticed you could be driving home at the exact same time that you were the night before and you didn't see a single deer? The next day conditions are a little bit different, and it's not like you see 2 or 3. Like every deer is out, and it's not like, oh yeah, it's on this farm that's bordering this farm, so they see each other. No. It's for like miles. There's something that has all those, every last one of them is like, there's a response like, yep, get out there and feed right now. Every last one of them.
Yep.
And the same thing is true for fish.
It's in the air, it's on land. And it affects them. We, as humans, amazingly don't. Maybe there's times where you're just more hungry. Maybe it does affect us. We just don't really understand it or grasp it.
Or a little crankier. Or
totally. There's things that are happening. You ask a police officer, when do they not want to take a shift? It's during a full moon.
Yeah.
The craziest stuff happens during a full moon. Ask
that's
a few
true.
of them. That's true. And there's things that are happening there. So in my, let's go back a couple of decades when I was a full-time muskie fishing guide or a fishing guide. I really planned my seasonal calendar around the moon because I kept a very detailed journal trying to understand this fish 30 plus years ago to really be the best I could be at catching them. And they're creatures of habit. They do the same thing during the same moon phase every single year during the same time of that year.
Wow.
They're in different parts of the lake at the same time.
But they seem driven by the moon phase?
The moon is a powerful, powerful thing in their world. And you notice it in a big creature like a muskie
because of gravitational or because
there's
of
things happening there.
overnight?
So if you were fishing on the ocean, you're talking tides. There's some pull there.
Right.
Yeah.
And the tides dictate so much of what happens to where people fish on the ocean. Now, that same pull exists here, but our water levels aren't going up and down. But it still has the same pull on these creatures. So a muskie has 4 key feeding times every day. Sunrise, sunset. The other 2 are moonrise and moonset. So the moon dictates a lot. So those fish, whatever triggers them all. Whatever turns them all off. So when you're muskie fishing, you're really out there for one bite because it's a fish of a lifetime, right?
Yeah.
It's huge. These are trophies. And so you might go 5 hours without having any action. And they're notorious for following bait all the way to the boat so you can see these fish, but they won't actually eat. All of a sudden, 4 hours go by without anything, 6 hours, nothing. And then in 8 casts, you hook 3 muskies and you see 2 more. And you say, what changed? And I say, look at the horizon over there. You see the moon? The moon just rose. So I plan my trip around the moon. I have on my graph, I know when the moon is going to rise. I know when it's going to set. I know the different phases of the moon. The 5 days leading up to the full moon are typically going to be the best 5 days of the month to catch the largest fish in an ecosystem, in a body of water, a river, a lake, wherever it is. My detailed calendar, I can look out my journal and I can tell you the largest fish every month came during that period overwhelmingly. There are some outliers. You might have you might have a big snowstorm coming in and it's November and they're going to eat because what does a creature need? It needs to eat and survive.
But it can predict the snowstorm coming?
It's a pressure system coming in. And so it might be in the summer, it could be just a powerful pressure system moving through. And leading into that, they feed heavily because it just triggers them to feed. Likewise, in the spring, a cold front can just shut down the fish. After a cold front, a lot of people listening, if they grew up, their grandparents or somebody who took them fishing, wind from the west, fish bite the best. Wind from the east, fish bite the least. It's nothing to do with that saying other than what's happening in our world when it's a west wind. Stable weather leading into a front. The fronts come from the west and they're pulled in. After the front passes, the wind switches to the east. It's post-frontal. The pressure changes and the fish don't bite quite as much.
You talk about my brain right now.
Yeah, I know. But so that's the way my brain works. And my wife, she's like, I just don't know where you put all this. I can tell you the exact spot I caught every muskie on for 25 years and the lure and the water temperature and all this crazy stuff. But I can't remember the date of birth of one of my kids.
Please don't tell me that's true.
No, I mean, I have to think hard about some of these things that should be just easy to remember. My brain works in a very weird way.
Wow.
Man.
Yep.
Who's drinking this up right now, Nicholas?
Me.
Well, yeah, but Judd is just he's taking notes. He just took a bunch of notes off of what you just said.
You talk about deer hunters. They put their trail cameras out. You can pattern a deer, and people do. They say, okay, look at the moon. During this moon phase, this buck has historically done this, this, and this. So they can look at it and say, I need to be in the stand right on this date. Right. Every 4th day, that deer comes out at this time. And you can pattern them. And they're just creatures of habit that way. But there's things happening in the world that we don't feel that they do that causes it.
Yeah, that can be the only explanation, in my opinion.
What's interesting about you is, I mean, think of all the different cultures in the world and religions that have some sort of reverence for the moon. And it's not just that it's a big bright light. I mean, they're taking deep notes of when they were catching fish or when they were able to harvest certain things, or indigenous people all across the world. And right here you have some correlated data that said, well, actually they probably would have caught more fish when the moon was strong. And so we do it for
enjoyment now, for pleasure, but years and decades and generations ago they did it for survival. So you better understand the seasonal movements of wild creatures because your life depended on it back then.
Yeah, so true.
It is. It's interesting when things when they migrate north, south, and I mean the whole wild world, they've got it figured out. We're just living in it.
So I hear you so excited about this fishing. Why do you host something called The Flush and not something called The Catch?
Well, it's just opportunity in life and where I'm at today, I guess. I've been at Ron Share Productions here for, oh my goodness, 17, 18 years, something like that. And it was my love for fishing that got me in the door at this production company. But I love hunting just as much, if not maybe more. You know, and different seasons of life, things, you know, go up and down. I was crazy about this for a while, and I'm crazy about this, and we'll see where things go next. But opportunities come, and in this world of media, if you think you can do it, and you raise your hand, and you say, I can do that, you just might be amazed at where it can take you. And that's what I did. Man. I said, I can do that. I can do that. I'd love to do that. I want to try that. And we needed a lesson producer.
To learn there.
Yeah. You know? It's just learning on the job and being willing to listen, to watch, observe, to be confident in your own voice and try things and fail a little bit and learn and get back up again.
Wait, so you've hosted a lot of stuff. You got a failure. You got a hosting failure you want to talk about?
Oh,
Kent and I have some.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, we got some embarrassing ones.
Yeah.
I don't know that I necessarily have failures. I have scary moments, probably. I think the hardest thing, I think early on, when the camera would turn on, it was like you just were stunned, like somebody hit you with a stun gun. It's the weirdest thing to have a camera pointed at you. And I've interviewed people too where I have to tell them, don't look at the camera. The camera's not there because they forget their own name. Yeah. They don't even know how to pronounce or say their own name. And I've been in that position before too. Yeah. So I know what it feels like. But really...
My name's Sig Boucher.
Yeah, exactly. How do you spell that? And, so you just have to be creative in ways to help people all the time. And I think that's really my goal is to make people feel comfortable. I go with them. I interact with them. Guys, don't worry about the camera. You don't have to say anything. There's nothing scripted here. This isn't the reality TV you see on The Bachelorette. That's not reality TV. We're going hunting for a wild bird today. And we have dogs that don't speak English. And even though they're well trained, they may do something that we don't like. And that rain coming, that's real. We can't change that. Yeah. So we're just going to go out and we're going to get lost in a blizzard and we're going to try to figure out how to get out of it too. And that's the reality of what happens.
You're
and as long as the camera
right now.
Yeah, if the camera can stay rolling, we're going to film it. And then when we come back, that's when we take the footage and I write a story based on that. So nothing's scripted ever, and it's all real. And that's just the way that...
Yeah, some beautiful footage too. I mean,
our videographers are very talented, and I feel blessed all the time that I get to go to wild places with them, and they capture it.
I mean, besides, you know, like Planet Earth and stuff like that, you guys really have some of the best B-roll I've ever seen. In terms of like nature B-roll, it's incredible.
Well, thank you for saying that. I'll share that with those guys too, because they bust their butts way more. When we leave, most people are just astonished that, holy cow, you guys, your cameramen are there. I mean, they're lugging that big camera on their shoulder everywhere they're walking.
A lot of messing around with drones and stuff like that.
I mean, it always depends on where we're filming. If you can put a drone up, if it's legal. I mean, we're all FAA licensed pilots to operate.
Oh,
this.
Really?
Yeah, you have to be legally to operate it. And there's permits where we go. I mean, a lot of times on public land, you have to have filming permits. And there's sometimes hoops to jump through there. And so
thinking of the drone he's been flying around at home that he realizes.
I would say most people that have drones are operating them illegally.
Well, you can have a toy size one, but like as soon as you get to the size of like a laptop, it's not very big. You have to have a license too.
Yeah, and then there's certain airways and places you're not supposed to fly them.
Yeah.
We have one of our guys, bless him. He's so by the books. It's great. We're done with the shoot, and he's just going to go get the sunset on a drone somewhere. And one of the guys says, hey, they cracked open a beer on the tailgate, and, you know, it's over. And he offered him to his camera, and he goes, I I can't drink and fly. And he was dead serious too, because he knows that he's a licensed pilot. Even though he's operating a joystick on this little remote, it's a tiny little bee up in the air.
What do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a pilot.
He's wearing he puts his captain's cap on.
Yeah. And most of our videographers are also our editors too. So they've been here for a while. They know the shots that they need to be able to put a show together. And so, yeah. And variety too, because we have, I think, like 8 different TV shows right now that we're producing, all outdoor related, but they're different in different ways. The Flush, upland bird hunting, very much a hardcore audience of upland bird hunters. And obviously, we've become friends over the years, because what do upland bird hunters need?
Yeah.
Habitat, baby. Yep. Yeah, we need grass. And so everything that you guys do matters a lot to us.
Thanks for saying that. Yeah. I'm curious. I know Kent's ready to actually start the real part of the podcast.
No. Remember, he said he had this great question. I can't wait to ask this question off the top.
He's just 20 minutes in
now. Yeah. We got him.
To avoid Nick, we got him.
Yeah,
we got him.
That's right. Well, I'm still asking at some
Kent's
point.
Just here.
It's coming out.
Well, okay. So perfect conditions for any hunt or fish anywhere in the world. What are you hunting and where?
Oh, that's just a loaded question. You got to give me a bird and a species or a place. I think
you should just combine them. You should flush arapaima down in Guyana and shoot them with a shotgun.
Here's what I always tell people. If I could just take October 15th through November 15th and just take all 30 of those days and just do nothing but spend them outside hunting or fishing, those, in my opinion, are the best 30 days of our entire 365. Everything is happening in the wild world. The fish underwater are preparing for winter. They're bulking up. They know it's coming. They can feel it. The temperature, the sunlight hours are going down. At the same time, you've got a migration of birds coming down from the Arctic. And they know winter's coming. They have to pass through. And all the other upland bird species, as well as the rut for deer. Yeah. The rut's going, and the whole wild world is alive during those 30 days. Yeah. The problem is the daylight hours are very short.
Yes, they are.
And I really struggle to maximize every single minute of legal shooting hours.
And daylight savings. Yes. Coming off of that is anti-hunting. I'm telling you. Because
I'm trying to get rid of it.
Well, yeah, as long as we stayed on daylight savings.
Yeah, we stayed on the current one. The current summer.
It's when you fall back, because then all after work hunting ceases to exist, because as soon as work is done, it's dark. And if you're going to get up early in the morning and hunt, now you got to get up real early in the morning to go hunt.
You know what else I really, really love? So I grew up on both my parents grew up on farms, and as I grew up, I was able to go back to those farms, even though they moved off of them when I was 3 years old. We'd go back and I'd ride in the tractor with my grandpa and sit in the combine. And there's something about a freshly cut cornfield, there's beans or something. I don't know. I love the smell of it. I love the beauty of it. It's
a deep connection if you grew up in the Midwest.
Yep, absolutely.
The ag and freshly cut, and then you're getting the fruits of your labor. I know Kent and I really bash on row crop, but you cannot deny going out there, pulling in the crop and being like, I did this. We made this happen.
Well, that's just like your garden too. I mean, I have a garden at home, and when you're harvesting, you're like, gosh, we waited a long time for you, little carrot.
Yeah, that's right. And then it's so deformed and tiny.
Yeah, totally. I was hoping you were going to be like 5 times bigger, but whatever.
Okay, so
Nicholas might make fun of you, but you look perfect to me.
But the thing is, though, you connect with it because you create you cultivated that.
Yeah. He calls each carrot his child.
Do you have a name for your carrots?
I created this.
I do not name my carrots. However, I'm officially into the time of year where I spend at least a portion of my day staring at our garden. Like that last night, my wife is like, hey, let's go out and look at the garden.
So you've already planted?
A few things. We got radishes in, carrots in.
Lettuce?
My wife just planted her tomato plants that she
You guys do broccoli?
Wow.
Yeah, we do broccoli.
Well, I suppose you're 5 hours south of me. So I'm not ready to put that stuff in the soil.
I was up here about a month ago buying some farm equipment, and
why didn't you call?
It was I didn't
you
make
came
it
up to my...
I made it to Faribault.
All right, that's still fairly close. You jerk.
Yeah. I thought about it, but I had Jonas with me, and we had to be quick. But it was still winter. Like it had just snowed the night before, and it was like 55 down at our.
Yeah, we had a really interesting spring up here. So I live in about an hour west of the Twin Cities in Minnesota here, and from basically the Twin Cities south, our spring came a month earlier than the rest of the state. So we had the ice left the lakes. We had people out on boats and catching fish from shore and just, open water fishing.
Yeah.
And you'd go up to northern Minnesota and you had 3 feet of ice on the lakes, and people were still driving out with their trucks on the ice as people in the cities here were fishing out of boats.
Have you ever had any close calls doing that, driving out on the ice in a vehicle?
Oh, how much time you got today? I have gone through the ice on Lake of the Woods. That's probably...
Did you just hit like an air pocket or something?
Well...
Or are you trying your luck late in the season?
Nope, it was early season and super cold. I went up on Lake of the Woods, which is one of the greatest walleye fisheries in North America. And the first time you can get out is almost always the best. It's so good. So we had about 8 inches of ice, and there's this bay that gets you out to the main lake. It's called 4 Mile Bay. There's a little bit of current in there, but it's kind of your main route to get out. And there's this island. It's a long 4 mile or 3 mile island called Pine Island. You cross over that, and then you're out into the basin. And the resorts, it's a life up there. Winter is a life up there. So they get out right away and stake the road. And they check the ice, and when they open up their access, now you can go. So we had a 4-wheeler. But we were in college back then, so we didn't have a lot of stuff. Sure. But we said, we got a 4-wheeler, and we can just haul everybody else out on the sleds on our flip-over portable fish houses. They're basically sleds. So we had 3 fish houses in tow. There were 6 of us, 2 on the 4-wheeler, 3 on the sleds, and my roommates both had their dogs. So we go out fishing down the staked road. And we caught, just hundreds of walleyes. Not even exaggerating. It's that good. Man. And we were one of the first, couple hundred of people that got out. And so we fished all day, and it's getting dark, and we're heading back in. And it's probably 15 below zero, 20 below zero air temperature. So it's super cold. And what happens when ice forms, it cracks, But out there, it's so big that these cracks are just like boo, to the point where if you've never heard it, you think you're gonna die.
Yeah, I bet,
the first time you're standing, that you can feel it, which isn't what happened here. We were fishing, we were on our way back in. It's getting dark, and the headlights are on, and the 4-wheeler following the same trail we drove out on the 4-wheeler, except for the ice cracked east to west. It cracked at an angle northwest to southeast. It cracked again. And basically created a floating chunk of ice that we couldn't see. You can't see that. Yeah. But because there was boom, boom, so much ice cracking, there was just this floating sheet. So when we hit it, all of a sudden we're on it.
Oh, my
goodness.
So
the weight of the 4-wheeler with all of us on it pushes this ice sheet down, and the front of it's up, and the 4-wheeler can't drive up it. So we basically just sank this thing. And we're like a mile and a half.
Were there people towed behind too?
We had the fish houses tied. We had my buddies on the back. I was on the 4-wheeler along with the driver. I was riding in the back, straddling. It's cold out.
Double duding,
yeah. Yeah, you do what you have to do to get out there. Well, so we all went in the water.
What?
And the 4-wheeler, basically the air in your tires bring that to the surface. So now the ATV is upside down in the water. We have 2 dogs swimming.
Yeah, but did that ice sheet I picture this thing like sliding out when you get on it, and then it comes a lid over top of you.
It didn't come over the top of us and close us off.
Thank goodness.
The thing about this 4 Mile Bay is it's relatively shallow. So you can, hit bottom and push up and get back up. Had this happened in deeper water, I don't know that we all would have made it. Wow. But because it happened even though we were a mile and a half from shore, we were able to, and basically, I don't know if I had nails or what, or if I clawed, but because of the angle of the sheet of ice as I'm trying to claw myself out of it, I was able to get out, and we were able to get the dogs out. We all were able to get out. And it was so cold then that everything, your adrenaline was just pumping.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't even feel cold, except for everything on our bodies just turned to like Tin Man. You couldn't move. Everything was just ice, froze up. Your bibs, your jacket, everything was just a complete sheet of ice on our bodies.
That is terrible.
I know, it was the craziest.
How did you? I mean, you're a mile and a half out. What'd you do?
We all had like a steady trot as we were running back in.
I assume you just had to leave the four-wheeler.
We did. So then we went back to the lodge we were staying at, told them the story, and they brought us back out there. We got some chains. One of us had to jump in the water again to hook onto the ATV. We drilled some holes, and I have saved several ice houses and other vehicles in the past, so we had some pretty good ideas on what we were going to do here.
How you know you're from Minnesota? No big deal. I've done this before.
I've seen some pretty fun stuff out there. I think I get a rush out of that kind of stuff.
My goodness, Travis.
I've learned
out of almost dying, Travis. That's what that is.
What is it?
I said almost dying. That's what you get a rush out of.
So, I mean, I don't take as many risks now that I'm a father.
Yeah.
As I did. I was the first one on the ice when it froze because that's the best fishing of the whole year.
Right. Yeah.
Before the noise gets out there and other people ruin it.
You're going out there? Yeah, it's the best day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Worst story though was, did I tell this on the last one?
You told me about, I was going to ask you, which was scarier, that or when the flight in Alaska, and you
the flight in Alaska, that was way worse. That was
really,
yeah. That
like
one,
you thought that might have been it.
I never thought I was dying when I went through the ice on Lake of the Woods. It all happened really quick. I knew where I was. I had some control over what happened there, and I trusted myself.
Yeah.
I don't have any control over a pilot flying a little plane through the mountains in a blizzard. I had zero control over that. So I thought we weren't going to make it.
Yeah. So you kissed the ground both times, but definitely after
absolutely
after the flight.
I think probably my worst one was on Lake Superior up by Madeline Island. I went out with a buddy, and this is an older gentleman that he said this is some of the best lake trout fishing that I've ever seen, and I had never done it, so I wanted to try it because I like adventures.
Yeah.
So we're quite a ways out there, but
on the ice.
On the ice, yep. And there's so much power in that lake. Holy crap. You have to have a lot
Lake Superior creeps me out a little bit.
And yeah, we're fishing 300 feet of water.
The Edmund Fitz sleeping down
250 to 300 feet of water. And you can see waves off in the distance. So we get out there the first day, and there's locals, and everybody that's a local has a snowmobile. And then they have basically like a teepee.
And they're riding back to shore, and we're headed out.
They have basically a teepee that folds around them, and that's their fish house. But it doesn't it doesn't disconnect from their snowmobile.
Okay.
And the reason why that I learned is because at a second's notice, you have to start that thing and go as fast as you can to get out of there. There's no hooking anything up. Your windbreak is attached to your machine, and your machine needs to be able to water skip. Most snowmobiles can if you get going fast enough.
Yeah.
So we had a four-wheeler, and we had our fish house in one of those sleds, and I'm riding on the back of this four-wheeler. We get out there the first day, and I can see waves way off in the distance. And we're fishing, and we're amongst all the locals, and it was fair weather, and it was fine. And so we caught a couple fish. This is cool. The next day we get up to go back out there, and we're following the same track, and we're the first ones to get out there. And
look at this, we got the ice.
Yeah. We have two machines, and where we were the day before was no longer frozen. That was all water. So we stop and we're looking, and we're like, what the heck? And I learned you follow the locals to that place. You don't lead. Okay. There's a reason we were the only ones out there.
Yeah.
That the currents changed, something changed, and it just took that ice sheet completely out that we were on the day before. And again, 250, 300 feet of water. It's that deep. It's crazy aqua blue. It's like, it's
like
out
an
of
ocean.
this world. Yeah, exactly. So all of a sudden I look over at the other guy next to us because we both stopped and we're like, we need to go there, but that's all waves. What's going on? I look over, the guy is like 2 feet above me. Now the guy's 2 feet below me. The guy's on the horizon. I see the guy.
Goodness, get me out of there.
On the ice that we were on was rolling, and so we're on these waves, and so we could not turn that thing around fast enough. But we can't water skip on this thing. So now I'm freaking out. And remember that sheet of ice that I said? That type of stuff was happening as the ice was rolling. And I don't know that I've ever been so freaked out on ice before in my entire life. And
I have goosebumps.
Yeah,
I'm like
I know,
afraid.
it was terrible.
I'm stressed just thinking about
Did that
it.
end your fishing for the day? Were you guys like, we're getting
No,
back short?
that's what. This is the stupid part. We are not very
Hang
smart.
on, Travis, we need to get a few casts in.
Yeah, exactly.
Got open water.
So we go around the island, one of the islands out there, and we see the locals, and we're like, oh, okay, that must be where it's safe. so we go in, and we set up next to them. We got this fish house. We flip over and everything. All of a sudden, I get out. This is like 2 hours later. I get out to take a pee, and
Everybody's gone.
everybody's gone.
Oh,
And it's snowing. The lake effect snow comes in. And I look at the snow hitting the ice, and there's all these wet cracks all around us in the snow that's falling because water's seeping up because we're riding waves again on the ice. I look at the house, and the house on the horizon that I just walked out of is moving. I'm like, Mike, we've got to go. And multiple times we're driving this four-wheeler, and the sled behind us is, like we broke up chunks of ice, parts of that sheet, because it was constantly breaking up from the waves. So I've never gone back. I don't ever want to go back.
Oh,
there's other places to catch a lake trout, and I'm not going back to that one.
Oh my goodness.
So anyway, that's why you have a snowmobile out on Lake Superior, so that you can just gun it and water skip, and you don't fall through.
That's just so horrifying. To think about.
That gave me nightmares.
Were they like? Did the locals? Were they like, yeah, we were going to kind of claim your guys' stuff after you.
What the heck?
I don't know. I mean, that's a different life over there. They're used to it. It's normal for them.
You just think they'd say something to you,
Yeah, right. Yeah, typically fishermen keep to themselves.
Yeah,
it's just the way. It's just the way that a lot of them are.
Yeah.
Man.
I don't think they realized that we didn't know what was happening. Probably.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like we're having conversations with them. They were 50 yards, 100, 200 yards away. When the snow moves in, visibility goes down. Yeah, maybe they should have. When we went into Lake of the Woods, there was more headlights coming. When I crawled out of the water, I waved and I said, no, don't go. And I still to this day, it drives me nuts. We still had two people in the water when I stopped them from driving into the water that we just gone into. They would have driven right into the open water with their four-wheeler. And instead of helping us, they just made a big circle and drove around. And I'm like, we could have used your four-wheeler to ride in. We're a mile and a half from shore. I just saved your life, and you don't even give us a ride in.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow.
Crazy. Yeah. So,
Well, I took vacation to be here, so I can't waste any of this time.
Yeah,
man, Travis, my heart's like beating. I don't know if it's the coffee, but I'm like stressed.
I want to know what you would do in that circumstance.
Oh, dude, he said no. He said when he was saying that, I had in my mind exactly what I would do. I would drown. I would die.
Don't say that, Nick. Don't say that.
No. Well, one, I'm a bad swimmer. And two, I'm like afraid of water.
Nick likes 95-degree weather.
I like 90. I do. I really like it boiling. I like hot weather.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah. No. No. So we had a guy. I was hanging out with a group of friends in Denver in February, and one of the guys is from here in the Twin Cities, and it was like 58 degrees and the sun was shining and he was boiling. Like he was like sweating and like having to wipe, and it was just like the sun was shining and it was maybe 60 degrees and he just like couldn't handle it. Cause I think, you guys take all year to acclimate to a little bit of sun and it was February.
You're so dramatic. We're not that much different than you. It's 70 degrees outside right now. It's beautiful.
You can't make up sweat. I saw that man sweat. He was.
That could be leaning to something else. Who knows?
Yeah, that's right.
He seemed like he had other things going on. So I don't on which the Lake Superior, I'm not going out there. I'm not. I see waves in the distance. I see water. Even Lake Red Rock, it'll be frozen for 3 straight weeks, and I'm like,
Nick's driving over there. He's like, man, the last place on earth I'd want to be is down there on that ice.
Yeah,
there are some real ruggedly awesome places that most people will never experience because it's just truly dangerous.
Yeah.
And they deserve our respect. I went on a hunt one time on the Archipelago Islands in Lake Michigan.
Or Apostle Islands?
Nope.
Archipelago.
Nope.
Okay.
That's where I almost died. The Apostle Islands up in
Really?
Superior. Yeah.
He knows that place intimately.
Yeah.
I've been up there. That's some big water out there.
Yep. Yeah. So that's where we were in Apostle Islands. I think Madeline Island is one of the Apostle Islands there. That one's the one closest to shore, I believe. And then there's a variety of them there. But anyway, we go out to this island complex, and I got critiqued from a viewer because I pronounced it wrong. So now it's always in my head. Is it Archipelago or Archipelago? The local called it the Archipelago Islands. So I referenced that on TV. And then this guy looked up my entire college and high school history and said, you should be ashamed of yourself for graduating from this school and this school, and you call yourself
man. Wow.
Yeah, and you can't even pronounce this correctly. I mean, he sent me this whole long paragraph about it. But anyway,
So
we went out to these islands out in the middle of Lake Michigan.
Like that, man.
I know, people have a lot of time on their hands.
That is true.
Yep. So we go out to these islands, and the wind was just whipping, and we were supposed to take a ferry boat, drive our vehicle onto it, drive out to this island, and then get to our base camp. And then we had boats lined up to take us where we were going to go hunting. But the wind just would not. It was it was just pounding. 20-foot waves out there, they said. I mean, they canceled everything. But we'll fly you there. Oh, great. After Alaska, I am not getting in the plane. I don't know how I got talked into it, but 4-person Cub plane flight us out there. And we're going down the runway, and the second we get our wheels off the ground, the plane does a 45-degree angle sideways because that's the way the wind was hitting it. And we just climbed up at an angle like this and then flew out there. But the boat ride back just about killed the guy because we ended up taking the ferry back, and this guy trapped himself in the bathroom and the waves on that boat, and he was so seasick. He's throwing up on himself. I had to go to the bathroom, and I'm like, buddy, you need to get outside. You can't stay in this. It was like a dungeon. It was a bathroom, no windows, no nothing. Yeah. And he's puking his guts out in the stall, and it was just the worst. I just had to go to the bathroom. I was like, I had too much coffee this morning. I need to do something about it. And this guy's in here dying.
Oh, man.
I've never seen anyone so sick in my entire life.
Oh.
That's unfortunate.
That's like,
sure.
I will say, okay, I got one last big water story.
Yeah, hit us with it.
Okay, Gulf of Mexico, 15 years ago, buddies getting married. We decided to book a charter. We take him out into the middle of the ocean. He took us out there, never should have taken us. But this guy I don't know how he tricked us into thinking he was a real captain, but he got so sick out there and the storms got so dangerous that he panicked, curled up in the fetal position underneath the console, and I drove us home. What? True story. True story. What? Yeah, he panicked. He couldn't figure out how to read his GPS. And
wait, Nicholas, when were you living down by the Gulf?
So I guess I've been on some pretty, my buddies and I mean, this whole storm that we were in, we tell stories about it. We paid the guy his money because
he should have at least given you a discount.
You cannot draw up an experience as wild as we experienced.
Yeah.
I mean, the fish jumping out of the waves to the storm, and I mean, they had some
the way
of the
biggest... hurricane just lifted the fish right out of the ocean.
Exactly. This guy was he was missing some screws up top. Clearly, we realized that once we got out there, and he got uncomfortable. He panicked. He was throwing up over the side of the boat with one of the dad of the groom, and they were synchronized puking off the back, and we're like, boys, pull anchor, we are going, because he got this fear in his eyes as the boat went up rode up the wave, and then it crested over the top, and we were like probably a 60-degree
You're like the cover of A Perfect Storm.
Yes, exactly.
With George Clooney.
So all those memories are just priceless, even though it was scary.
Priceless.
Priceless.
I paid money to not have those things.
I know, but the worst experiences in life are the most memorable.
Well, that is true.
I'm so glad that I had to wait till now to ask my opening question because it's so appropriate now.
All right.
Is there hunting in heaven?
Is there hunting in heaven?
Is there hunting in heaven? You were almost there many times.
Boy, I hope so.
Do you ever think about that though?
No, I've never thought about that. Have you?
Yeah.
I think. Well,
that's why I shed hunt.
That's why if he wants to go or not.
That's why I shed hunt so much, because I know that nothing has to die for me.
Aren't we promised that there's nothing that we won't want up there?
I think so. I mean, so there's
all of our needs will be met.
Yeah.
Right.
And hunting's a need. is what you're saying.
Well, we survive this way. We survive by harvesting our wild game.
That's true.
But I don't know, because prior to that apple,
right?
the fall, they were coexisting with the wild animals.
The lion lays down with the lamb.
But what? Okay, let's go back to that. What do you think that they were eating prior to taking that apple off the tree? We don't
question.
know. We were never told. What was food to them back
but
then?
Noah is given specific instructions that he's allowed to take animals to eat. And I'm pretty sure that's kind of generally considered the first time that humans ate animals.
Do you think, though,
I don't know if that's true.
Because God says, do not eat from this tree. Were there other trees that were okay to eat from?
Oh, for sure. I think so.
So they were probably, humans were eating.
I think he says you can eat of any of the other trees.
Adam and Eve's son, they had 2 sons at first, right? Cain and Abel. Cain was the farmer, and he...
But this is after the fall.
Yes. But
I'm wondering
before Noah. This is before Noah.
Sure.
And then Abel was a keeper of sheep. And so, I mean, I know there's like the wool aspect of sheep, but I mean, there might have also been a meat aspect there too.
Yeah, interesting. My guess is nuts and berries. That's my guess. But I wouldn't be surprised if animals were in there. I mean, they say don't name the animals you're going to eat, right? And Adam had to name every single one of those suckers. So
That's sound logic for sure. although when you read historical accounts of Native Americans, a very significant portion of their diet was dogs, and
like wolves.
No, like.
Are you making this up now?
I'm dead serious. I'm listening to
your source.
All right, I will. I'm listening to a book right now called I think it's called Knights of Spain, Warriors of the Sun. It's about De Soto and his conquistadors coming up basically the Mississippi River, more or less. Most of the part that I'm in now, which it's a long book. It's like a 25-hour book, and I'm probably 10 hours in or so. They're still down in like Florida and Georgia. And then he's going to die sometime soon here, because I think he gets sick and dies actually not too long into his journey. But they document that they were served by a lot of the tribe's dogs. And I think it's Francis Parkman's book. I think it's just called Oregon Trail.
Which I was just thinking, do you guys ever play Oregon Trail?
No,
growing up?
Oh, man.
But it's coming back.
Typhoid.
Kids are playing it again right now. Yes, because it got released for video game consoles.
All I did was hunt until I died of diarrhea.
I hunted. It's like, this is not. I should not be hunting right now, but I'm going anyway. It never worked out well. You got to do some other things to get.
But Francis Parkman, who he wrote like a firsthand account of, he wasn't really like a part of the Oregon Trail. He was more so on like a bros trip out west, like let's see what all the noise is about. And I think he was a pretty well educated guy. And so he was documenting everything, and they kind of were going alongside of the people on these wagon trains on the Oregon Trail. And they stayed with a lot of Native Americans. And I believe, if I remember correctly, if that's that book, I listened to that one a couple years ago now. They ate quite a few dogs on there. And they talk about how these were dogs that were kept in the house with their owners. And it's dinner time,
Take one of them down.
Yeah.
Wonder if there was any attachment to them.
One of them was a puppy that Francis Parkman talked about. Just clocked a puppy over the head. And
what a different world we live in now.
Yeah.
We have chickens. And a friend asked me, he goes, what are you going to do when they're done laying eggs? I was like, I don't know. Maybe eat them, but I don't know. They all have names. Mine is Shania. And I don't know if I could, hey guys, I want to pass Shania over. I just don't know how I feel
like
that.
Shania Twain, is that?
Yeah.
I think Nick might be onto something with this whole naming thing.
So my daughter and I, we sing we sing together and dance all the time, and we'll crank, "Man, I Feel Like a Woman," and everybody in our house has to listen to it, and the neighbors, and
But that's your song.
We were cranking "Man, I Feel Like a Woman" at that time frame when we got chickens, and everybody came up with their own name, and I said mine's Shania. So we all picked out one. And now I just don't know what to do with these chickens when they're done laying eggs. We got a few years, hopefully, before we get to that point. But
you got those rotisserie chickens, you know.
I know. I'm feeding them well.
Yeah.
Did you vote on our shop cat name?
No.
So we're naming our shop cat. And
boy or girl?
I think it's a
I
girl.
don't know.
Nickel check when we get back.
I will not do that. No. So and then we put it out for like anybody could suggest a name. Then Riley, Kent, and I picked our favorites, and it's between Leatris, Artemisia, Artie for short, Slippers, and Shopcat.
So that's what the listeners voted.
Yeah. So now they got to vote on those four, and we're gonna see who ends up with.
I feel like Slippers because I caught a little bit of your conversation. Was that on this morning's coffee time? Yeah. So I heard something mentioned about Slippers, and that must be this cat.
Teddy Roosevelt's cat was named Slippers.
Slippers?
I guess. That's what this.
Yeah,
person
but
said.
Teddy, I think, is a better name than Slippers.
I feel like a human name or something would be funnier.
Yeah, that's what I was
like when you
saying.
see Bob walk by.
Yeah, I know.
And it's a cat, or I've hunted with a Bob, and every time it's like, Bob, come on,
Bob.
Come on, Bob. What the heck? You blew
What
that
about
one
like
out.
Jeffrey or something? Jeff.
Yeah.
Jefferson. I think a cat named Jefferson is a great name.
Yeah, that sounds like a comic strip waiting to happen. That's a good one.
Yeah, I don't know. I had a gecko for a while, and I think we named it Squid, but I'm not good at the whole like pet naming thing.
I'd go Bob. Can you add Bob to the list and let him vote? I don't know.
I'm fine with that.
All right, see what happens.
No, I spent like 2 hours making the reel for the podcast. We can't
do it.
You just comment on there, Travis.
How much time do you guys spend with the seeds?
I haven't seen a seed in 5 years. I mean, we spent hours hoeing the fields yesterday and burning fields.
I spend the most time with the seeds
for sure.
But actually, Riley does quite a bit too because he's our order fulfillment guy.
You know what brings me a lot of joy? Working with the ground.
Oh,
It brings me so much. If it's a long day, even just pulling weeds, it just, I don't know what it is. You guys had that, the gentleman on this winter about being outside and he talked about getting dirt in your hands.
Yeah.
That relates so well to me that it just calms me. I can't really explain it. I could just walk in the garden, and it's a tiny garden. It's like the size of this room. It's not big. And I can just pick some weeds out of it, put a little grass clippings down, and water it, and work the soil, whatever it might be, whatever time of the year, and just that resets me.
Yeah.
Kind of like even those chickens I was telling you about. I let them out, and while I'm doing yard work, they walk around and they peck and they grab insects and whatever else they find in the grass, crap everywhere. But it's so peaceful knowing that they're well taken care of.
Yeah.
And that also brings peace to me. And I can't really explain that, but I could just sit there and, they're not that loud. They just walk by. They come check out what you're doing. I'll dig under the leaves and they'll come see if there's a worm there. They come running up,
Yeah.
I watch how they feed and they dig and then they back up a step and they look underneath them and see if there was anything there. Then they dig the leaves away and they back up again.
Yeah.
And if there's all 6 of them together, they dig piles over each other's opening before they can check it. It's hilarious. So then I'll take a stick and I'll scratch, and then they'll come over and poke their head into my little dirt pile, see if there's anything there. And it's just, I don't know why, but I get a crack out of it.
Well, I think that's probably how things are supposed to be on some level,
Yeah.
where you are connected to that. I mean, when you look at the principal elements of soil and the principal elements of us, largely the same. So I mean, it's of the dirt which we are made. If you aren't ever connected to that, I don't know. I think
You will be one day.
you will be.
You will be connected to that dirt one day.
Well, my wife knows when I'm when I'm in need of some time outside, and
So when you get grumpy,
Yeah, I can get that way. I can get stressed out.
Yeah.
It can be and then just a walk.
Some of these trips you're going, I'd be a little stressed out too.
No. I mean, just everyday life. I mean, we're raising a family. There's a lot of pressure to provide, and there's a lot happening here, and deadlines and things going on all the time. And so life is, everyone has their thing. But for me, if I can just go for a walk outside somewhere in a wild place, I can reset really quickly. I don't know if it's God just speaks to me there.
Sure.
But I think he does there more than anywhere else.
Yeah.
And that's why I just cherish it so much.
Yeah.
And that's why I also struggle with it a little bit too, because as a dad trying to introduce my kids to all this, there's an element of, like, turkey season here opened a couple weeks ago, and all my kids want to go.
Yeah.
Having 4 kids in the blind with you changes the experience for the one holding the shotgun.
Oh, yeah.
And so trying to understand that when I went out for the first time hunting, it was a very, maybe spiritual, but also very, what's the word I'm looking for? It was just me.
Yeah, personal.
Very personal. There you go. That's what it was, very personal to be out there. And that allowed me to really connect with that wild place and the animals, learn from them, make the mistakes. We got 4 of us in the blind. It changes things. It's not nearly as personal. Now here comes a bird. It's still great. It's still amazing, but it's a little bit different. So I'm trying to find the balance. I leave one home, and now I've got one that's sad. And I get that's part of being a dad too, but there's only so much time available to get each one of them out. There's only so many birds available.
Right.
There's only so many landowners that'll give us permission to go out there.
Yeah.
And so I feel like when we go and one of the boys gets one, we're not going to go back and take another one off of that land, because the landowners also love having the turkeys around, but they realize that it's important for the next generation to experience that. So it's just constant trying to navigate how to share the love of that outdoor place with as many people as I can, but also make it personal at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, that
definitely does.
And it leads into something we definitely want to talk about, because you, as much as anybody in the lower 48, are at the cross section of hunting and conservation. And a better word for conservation, or a better phrase for it, is connectedness to the land, connectedness and care for the land. And I'm curious, this is a little personal. Do you feel responsibility there? Just of a lot of people listen to what you have to say and care about what you have to say. And I think rightfully so. You've got really great thoughts. That's why we have you on. And do you kind of feel that, not responsibility in a bad way, but like, oh, I can make a difference and there's a difference to be made here? Or?
Well, I just think we all make a difference. I don't think of myself being any different than you guys or anyone listening to my podcasts or TV shows or anything. We all share the exact same role in this. I really feel strongly. So I don't look at myself differently than anybody else. We were working on this project 15 years ago with the state and the DNR, and the one guy in the room, he said, gosh, it'd be so simple. If all of us took just one person hunting this year, we would double the amount of hunters in 1 year, and we would double the amount of voices for conservation.
Yeah.
And he's right.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to take a few people out. I hope that when we air something, it inspires people to go out. And I do sometimes worry about showing my family in this light, because there's some... I showed you some of the messages.
Yeah.
There's some a-holes in this world.
Oh, yeah.
And some people just feel like they need to share a terrible opinion of you for some reason that I don't understand. Fortunately, I have the self-esteem and confidence to just not let it bother me, but I don't want anyone to talk bad about my family.
Right.
And the reason I bring them out there and I talk about it and I show it is because overwhelmingly people can resonate with that. And they have kids and they say, you know what? I would love for my kids to see the fall migration. I would love for my kids to see a bull moose walk across the prairie.
Yes.
I would love for my kids to have a turkey strut in front of them, or a pheasant get up in front of them, and there are a lot of men that put themselves first.
Yes.
And it's their special thing too. And I'm not going to tell somebody what the order should be there, because I understand the value of being in that personal space in the outdoors. But I, most of the time, will take my kids first and put them as a priority. And then let's say like my boys they harvested their turkeys during the spring season. I've got other kids that want to go and other friends. Once everybody on my list of hopefuls to get out there has been taken out, hopefully good experiences, or I feel like we're done here for this season. Then I'll buy a license for myself.
Yeah.
But it's just a little bit different for me now. I just take on that role of I want to show people, because if you touch it, it touches you back.
Yeah.
The land and the wild animals, they can't not affect you when you're out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. Nicholas has said this, which is interesting because he's not a hunter. Since basically as long as I've known him, he's like, I mean, usually the most dedicated people who come asking for seed, those with the most vested interest, are hunters. You know, they really understand what it is they're buying. And
I'm sure most of your clients or customers are hunters. I mean, is it overwhelmingly?
No, and only because we do a lot of like backyard prairie stuff. So we do have some true conservation for conservation's sake.
Just for the sake of making it beautiful.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. Or just adding back to the soil or to the water.
And that's,
but there are tons of hunters. Yeah.
And I do want to highlight that group of people too, because they deserve credit. We get something out of it that they get out of it, which is the beauty of it. And I like knowing it's there, but we also get the hunting opportunity out of it. Yep. Whereas people who don't hunt, it's just there because it's the right thing to do, and they deserve credit for that. But hunters, so they kind of combine that mindset. I mean, you have your landowners, and there's varying degrees of interest, even among farmers or absentee landowners. Like, wow, this is a government contract. I just got to get me what I need, which is fine. At least we're getting habitat down, right? But then you also have people are like, yeah, I think I could qualify. I'd have enough points if I went with CP whatever, but I think I'm going to try and push for, instead of a CP2, I'm going to get a CP25, or instead of a CP25, I'm going to get a CP42, which is, generally speaking, the higher the number, the higher quality of CRP mix you're buying. And Nick is thinking in his head right now to see if that's true, but it is.
It is true, and I cannot believe I've never put that together. Looking at thousands of plans, that's crazy. Anyway,
but you see all these different people, but most consistently, I would say hunters have that most vested interest because they understand there's no hunting with no habitat.
Yeah, and I think upland bird hunters specifically are so tied to what you guys do for a living, because let's face it, if you want to see pheasants, you need to have grasslands. Yep. And if you want to see prairie chickens, if you want to see bobwhite quail, if you want to see a lot of their favorite upland bird species, you need to have some grass out there.
Yep.
And so unlike a deer hunter that's potentially going to sit in a 60, 80, 100 acre woods on the edge of a cornfield and sit in that stand for maybe they have 2 tree stands maybe, and they're going to hunt out of that almost all season. A bird hunter's on the move. He never stops moving. Right, upland bird hunters anyway. And so you just keep walking. You just keep on going. Yep. And you're only limited by the grasslands and access to them.
Well, and the other thing too that is nice about bird hunting, and I like to do both, as does Travis, but one of the temptations that can come with whitetail land management is manipulation so much. Because it's a stationary hunt, you need the deer to be in the right spot. That's one of the most challenging things about, especially bow hunting, is like, man, you could, if you can see birds when you're going pheasant hunting, as long as it's not right on the property line, you're probably going to get a bird that day.
Yeah.
That's not true with deer. You could see the world's biggest buck, but if he's at 72 yards and downwind of you, get the camera out and put the bow away because he's probably not headed your way.
Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, my first ever whitetail I harvested was with a bow and arrow at 12 years old, and it's still
72 yards. No,
73. 73. No, I get it. I love it. It is if you can outsmart a whitetail's eyes, ears, and nose, you're doing something. And pull off that maneuver to pull back when they're within range, they had to be within 25 yards because I've seen them duck a string or jump a string, and I don't want to risk having a shot not go exactly where it's supposed to go. So that was my rule, and that meant you had to pull that maneuver off when they're really close to you, and you have to get really close to them.
And then you got to fire a good shot because you're not getting the second one.
It's like the ultimate accomplishment. I mean, most hunters in North America will put the whitetail as the hardest. There's elk and whitetails together, and they're up there. A mature whitetail buck, I still think a mature whitetail doe is the hardest one.
Oh yeah,
but the whitetail buck only gets fooled because he's after her.
Those does are stroked out.
They are
stress
so smart. The bucks are so dumb, and then here's this one.
Yep.
She busts you, and all the bucks right away.
It's all over.
You did this. I wasn't even after you.
Yep. It's so true.
Yep.
But deer hunters, they have to almost approach. They don't have to, but the temptation is to approach land management with complete self-interest focused. How do I make this place hunt better is my number one priority. And because I need this deer to funnel into this area where I have an open window to shoot an arrow at 25 or under yards.
Yep.
And so I'm not saying no good comes from that. Absolutely a lot of good comes from that. But sometimes if you give into that temptation whole hog, that could be our phrase of the day today.
Whole hog?
Whole hog. If you give into that temptation all the way, you can get good by sacrificing best. And what best would be instead of just having maybe a tall screen there so that you have a safe passageway to your tree stand, you put in that super diverse prairie that sort of works as a screen, or not even sort of, works pretty good as a screen, just not as good as just a tall grass screen would. But all the royal fritillary butterflies benefit much more by you putting in that high quality prairie instead of just a tall grass screen, or putting in a short grass mix because you really want to help out the quail and not just help out the deer. You kind of like when you make those decisions based on what elevates the ecosystem instead
I think you're talking difference of a food plot that is planted in August and is eaten in October by a deer versus something that is there all year long. And where are you going to invest into that soil? Are you going to invest into native flowers that have an impact on a lot of different living creatures, or are you going to invest in turnips?
Right. Yeah. It's a real question that we have to weigh out. And I'm not trying to virtue signal here or anything, but I think that
we know you can't.
As an avid deer hunter,
we know your heart.
That's right.
Virtuing all the way.
So virtuous. As an avid deer hunter, that's the thing that I have to check in my own mind from time to time is like, who's this for? And I think bird hunters, both because they don't have that need as much to manipulate because birds can be found anywhere as long as there's habitat there, high quality habitat. That helps, but also just the fact that they, like you said, they get up and they're moving around and they're going through the whole network of habitat. I think that they can end up putting in some of the nicest mixes and how, the what's truly best for the ecosystem. And so
I think, and not to cut you off, but to just jump in there are so many places that I've hunted upland birds across America, North America, that were probably created because the love of an upland bird living there was in mind. but they are some of the best whitetail, mule deer,
Absolutely.
big game properties that I've also walked too.
Yep.
So what's good for the bird is good for the deer in most cases. And by the way, good for the earth and good for the water and good for the butterflies and pollinators and everything else that we are really, really struggling with right now in America.
We tell the story. So one of Kent's friends in the middle of town put in 500 square foot of pollinator. We have a list of species. Actually, Kent and Riley thoroughly put it together, did a lot of research on what wildflowers do deer like and what do they not like. And they're in this pollinator mix. There are tons of species that deer don't like. Now, there's things, if they don't like the taste, they'll just avoid it. But there's a lot of strong smelling things that would kind of keep deer away. But
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
And
I mean, think about like how strong a deer's sense of smell is.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like when someone puts too much cologne on or something. You know, you're walking like, oh.
and there's
Or
like mint
Nick
species. and
sprays
stuff.
half a bottle of bathroom spray. And,
Well, if you don't have time to shower, you need to.
You just need to cover it
Yeah,
up.
you got it.
Yep. And then the more you cover it up, your senses are numb to it, so you have to put more on.
Yeah, that's right.
So then it finally you smell it again. That's why.
I saw a reel where a comedian's like, it doesn't cover it up, it just changes it.
He's like panicked.
Yeah.
Oh man. No. So this friend of Kent's and planted his pollinator in the middle of town, and there was this. Was it a buck or a doe?
Yeah, a buck, a nice 10-point buck, was tending a doe.
Good for him.
In town,
800 square foot.
and
prairie.
there's a bunch of species that quote unquote deer don't like, but there was no life around anywhere. So this was the only life in town, and they were going to hang out where the quote unquote life was to be found.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely. And he saw deer using it at other times, and his neighbor ended up finding a nice big shed very close to where his prairie plot was. Just, you know, a true, if you build it, they will show up, you know.
That's so cool.
Yep.
Man. Well, it's 4:10. We got to drive home tonight. But
Man, Travis is coming with us. It's
yeah.
too much fun.
Come on, Travis.
What are we going to do tomorrow? Because I would love to get my hands dirty.
That's right. What are you doing tomorrow, guys?
Well, actually, I think we got a podcast tomorrow. We're picking up some plant trays,
Yep.
and then hopefully we are burning fields. So
Well, I just want you guys to know that I thoroughly enjoy listening to you both ramble and heckle each other every single week.
Appreciate that.
Information is very insightful. It's you're working with seeds that create habitat, and I'm a hunter, but really quality of life is what I think comes through in a lot of what you look for. Your information that you retain, the knowledge you both have, and the way that you can deliver it is something that helps me to digest it. So appreciate what you guys are
I
doing.
really appreciate you saying so. It's an honor.
we got one more question that I've been I wanted to poke at you. You do a lot of interviews. Sorry, did I cut you off?
No,
Ken?
no,
Okay.
that's great.
You do a lot of interviews. You interview other people. I'm curious, what's something that people don't really ask you about, but you wish they would?
Ask me about?
Yeah.
But, that I wish I would.
You want to know how I got these scars?
Well, I just don't really know how to answer it very well or eloquently, but I just think the role of a father in people's lives is one of the most powerful things that you can ever explain or not explain, maybe. I just think the role of a father is so important in a family.
Wow.
and taking people out there. And so I'm not the best shot in the field. I'm going to miss birds. My dog isn't going to be the best dog in the field, but I don't care if I'm not known for that. I just hope someday maybe he's a decent hunter, but he's a good father. Like if somebody had to say, what do you think about that Travis guy? I just want my kids to have a lot of confidence, and I think fathers have the ability to give their kids so much confidence.
Absolutely.
And to teach them by example. And so that's really what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Yep. And people want to ask questions about hunting and fishing and catching fish and being a better hunter. But man, just let's focus on being great dads.
Yeah.
For those dads that are listening.
I love that.
And I just think that is such an important thing in our world.
Wow.
Very well said.
Man. Well, we really, really appreciate your time and you hanging out with us. And for everyone listening, I hope that hit you powerfully, the Father. And it swings all the way around, because the people who go with confidence, we're not talking vain pride, we're talking true self-confidence. Those are the people who aren't searching life for the rest of things. They're not chasing after chasing after money in the big city. They're able to be with themselves, be confident, and leave margins for the rest of the world around them, and actually make a positive difference. And that's a huge deal. It happens one person at a time. We all know that happens because conservation happens one mind at a time.